This is Nasha Kasha, Ukrainian Almanac. 28 minutes of stories for everyone about Ukrainian life. I'm your reporter, Stefan Andrusiak, and this is episode 254. My career was in journalism. December 5th, 1990, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation laid off more than 1,000 staff, along with me. It would take a year, but the CBC would hire me again, this time in Prince Edward Island. In 2017, we returned. We saw friends and parades and crowds. Remember those? As we all live and hope and wait for the pandemic to pass, I offer these stories of better times from Canada's island province. Prince Edward Island is Canada's smallest province in both land area and population. The province is the birthplace of Confederation. The backbone of its economy is farming. It produces 25% of Canada's potatoes. Historically, PEI is one of Canada's oldest settlements, and demographically, it still reflects older immigrations into the country. Celtic, Anglo-Saxon, and French are the dominant cultures there. According to the 2016 census, the province of Prince Edward Island has 142,907 residents. Oshawa, Ontario has more people. But Islanders know, and Islanders will tell you, that their island province is a jewel that far outshines its bulk. You're listening to the Jive Kings, an 8-piece band from Prince Edward Island. In 2000 and 2001, the Kings were winners of the East Coast Music Award, Jazz Artist of the Year. This cut, called At the Mac, was co-written by Paula Daniluk. It's from the CD Spoon for a Knife. The Jive Kings disbanded in 2002. It's August 18th, 2017, in PEI's capital city, Charlottetown. The Gold Cup Parade is the centerpiece of Homecoming Week, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police H Division Pipe and Drums Band is turning the corner from Queen Street onto Water Street. That intersection is just beyond historic Province House. It was here that representatives of British North American colonies first met in 1864 to shape a country. On this sunny Friday, the reviewing stand is filled with dignitaries, and I approach one of them.
I'm Clifford Lee, Mayor of the City of Charlottetown. Old Home Week is something it's a long-standing tradition here at PEI. I think we're celebrating, it's 129th year this year. And basically, it has become to evolve around two specific activities, mainly. One being the Gold Cup and Saucer Parade, which we're doing today, and then the harness racing at the Charlottetown Driving Park.
Has the not the spirit, but has the composition of Old Home Week and the meaning changed with various cultures coming to the island over the last decade?
Yeah, I certainly think so. I think one of the things that we've always prided ourselves on, certainly here in Charlottetown, I think province-wide, is welcoming immigrants to our province. And quite frankly, Steve, we do that for very self-serving interests, because we recognize that with the population trend in PEI, our birth rate versus our death rate, that we're not going to be able to sustain this province long term, and we're going to, and our new children being born here aren't going to be able to, there's not going to be enough, I guess, to fill the job vacancies. As people such as myself and others of my age start to move out of the workforce, we need people to move into the workforce, and in order to do that, we need to depend a lot on immigration. And as a result, I think we're very opening. We have many events throughout the year at the municipal level to welcome newcomers to our city, to make them feel that this is really their home. It's not our home, it's our collective home. Charlottetown is certainly interested in immigration. We're active on the file, and anybody that wants to experience a really safe, quality life, Charlottetown's the place to be.
Out somewhere the music's playing, soft and low. My name is John Byers. I just came back from Ontario, but I'm an island boy. Been out there for 5 years.
Where in Ontario?
Pembroke area, down from Petawawa.
Okay, so you're in the forces? You were in the forces?
No, I wasn't. I was just doing some work out there, but it came to an end, and I'm retiring now. So I'm sort of enjoying myself.
You're an islander, born and raised?
Born and raised.
Many new cultures on the island. Has it changed since you went away to Ontario?
Oh yeah, multitudes of different nationalities. Yeah. You know, it's nice to see. I couldn't count them all right now.
So homecoming has a whole different meaning because people from different backgrounds feel more at home on the island. Do I have that right?
I believe they do because, you know, you're in a very beautiful place here. Everybody loves the island. They always have. And as for the cultures themselves, like I say, they seem to blend in. Every night I climb the stairs up to my room, and I think I hear you whisper, I love you.
I met John Byers busking at the parade that day. He, like so many islanders, leave to pursue careers elsewhere in Canada, but are always drawn back. That's the way it's been here for decades. There are those who never leave, of course. There are those who leave and return, like John. Vacationers living elsewhere in North America buy up summer homes on picture-perfect beaches and come here for just a few months every year, returning every year. And others who at a critical time in their lives came here and keep coming here in search of possibilities, in search of answers. Islanders call this group, including those born in Canada, the come-from-aways. Simply put, without insult or rancor, the label states, you're not from here. But today, as the mayor of Charlottetown has just told us, it is this last category of immigrants that Prince Edward Island is actively recruiting. The label come from away is now more of a request. Come from away. Yes, please, come from away.
Ночью было тихо, только ветер свежий, а в малине собрался совет. Все они бандиты, воры, хулиганы, выбирают свой авторитет. Давай! Чтоб не шухариться, мы решили смыться, но за это Мурке отомстить. Одному из урок кожаной тужурки мы сказали: слушай, Юра, Мурку надо бить.
Cool for the beach today, but anyway, it's still
What's
lovely.
your current dog's name?
Yurik.
Yurik.
That's actually a Turkish name. There's a lot. It's interesting how much crossover there is. Did you know, like in Turkish, the word for beans is fasulye?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
It was really funny to see that, but yeah. Yes, you can say hello to him, but he'll bark at you.
Hi, thank you for talking to me. Orisiu. Do you speak Ukrainian?
Я говорю трохи.
Okay. Чи ви можете себе представити? Can you self-introduce, please?
My name is Orisha Dawidiak, Widisa Dawidiak. I was born in Northern Ontario, in Sudbury. My parents are immigrants. They arrived in Canada in 1951. In fact, I was just at Pier 21 a few weeks ago and picked up some of the documents from their landing and on the register of all the people on board. So I feel very strongly Ukrainian because that is what I was immersed in. I didn't speak English until I was maybe 4 or 5, and I was the oldest child of 4, and I basically learned to speak English on the street, and a very strong Ukrainian community right through until I left Sudbury when I was around 19 or so.
What was your education?
My background is in the sciences. Actually, I was interested in the visual arts much earlier, but was convinced that that would not be a good way to make a living. So I've always loved the sciences, curious about how things work, and biology in particular. So I studied zoology and ended up doing chemistry as well. So I ended up working here at the Atlantic Veterinary College on Prince Edward Island in a toxicology lab at the vet clinic, the veterinary school. And again, when you move to a new place and you're looking for a job, you'll find something that, fits as well as it can to your background and your interests. So the vet college had quite a few openings. It was back in when it first opened here in PEI.
You saw it, you applied, and you were hired.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Now, can I call it animal husbandry?
Yes.
You went from this general interest in animals, this love for animals, to research to raising sheep?
Yes. In between, I was in Kansas State University, which is where I got my master's degree. At that point, I was studying animal husbandry, and I really was just more interested in the dogs, the working dogs that work with livestock, and that's how I came across the livestock guardian dogs that I have been raising for a few decades. But I raised them in conjunction with the sheep, so we kept a flock of sheep, and we do have coyotes here. We have stray dogs as well, the main predators on PEI. And when we arrived here in 1986, right? I think we were the first people on this island, and maybe in the Maritimes, that had these dogs. Nobody had really heard of them, even though they've been used in Europe for centuries and centuries. So that was a big part of my life, was developing this breed, introducing it to this area and to Canada. The breed that I have here are called Akbash dogs. These particular dogs we have, come from Turkey, and I've made several trips there to get breeding stock.
A young woman of Ukrainian background comes to pursue her branch of sciences in Prince Edward Island. Was it easy to acclimatize to this small province?
In some ways, yes, because the previous few years I had lived in smaller communities, first in Kansas, which was a very small town, and then Western Oregon. And coming here was a little bit of adjustment, but a lot of it had to do with the climate. After living on the West Coast, it was much milder, and I found the winters here were brutal, even though I'm from Northern Ontario, where we have serious winters. But the winters here were started earlier, it seemed, and just didn't give up for the longest time, and it has to do with the water around us that keeps this place cold for a long time in the spring. You don't even get spring most years, so I found that difficult. As far as getting involved with the society here and the people who live here, that wasn't too bad. I'd heard a lot about come from a ways, people who are not from here, not being ever properly, completely integrated as part of being true PE Islanders or even their children. But that didn't bother me. The people that I worked with were wonderful, whether they were Islanders for many generations or many people in the university, of course, were from off-island because they were trained in specialties that weren't here originally. So it was a really wonderful community. So I didn't find it too bad. I really enjoyed the people once I got to know them. They're very friendly and warm.
You live on an acreage?
Yes.
Can you say storm stayed?
Storm stayed. Oh, I know that word well. Yeah, it's only 15 minutes in the summer by car, but in the winter it was not possible at times. But we're on a school route, so we knew that our road would be plowed first if the storms were not so bad we all had to stay home.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And the joke continues, if you voted for the right party, your road would be plowed.
Yes, yeah. Well, actually, right now, the premier of the province lives up the road, but still, we've had some mild winters, so we haven't been complaining.
You turned to writing here as well. Is this the magic place for a writer to come from?
I've actually been writing as long as I remember, like from when I was 9, but little stories for myself. And but it was when I was here that I was able to, I think, finally, hit my stride where I was able to carve out some time, especially when I started working part-time. I decided to do that so that I would have more time for my writing, and I was able to do that.
Okay. Do you still work in the sciences?
No, I'm retired now.
Okay. You're retired, and what does your writing look like today? I know you have at least three books, 4 books.
Yes, I'm working on actually a couple of different projects right now. One's a memoir, a personal memoir, and the other is actually a dog memoir. And it is about one of these dogs that was imported from Turkey and his life story, seen through his eyes. He was really a character. He could have been human. So it's easy for me to channel him. But he traveled around North America. We brought him here as a stud dog. So he had quite the adventures. He traveled all over, and he never complained. Yeah, it was sad to see him go, but he was amazing.
And what was his name?
His name was Akush. Asil Akush of Odessa Farm. Well, for her entire name, Asil means noble, and Akush means white head. And Akush, they often call many of the dogs Akush because they're white and they run like a bird, like they just fly. Yeah, they're very fast.
And while we're talking names, you mentioned the city name Odessa Farm. How did that come about?
Well, actually, my husband and I took the letters of our names and the sheep and the akbash, and basically it turned into Odessa. So it worked just fine. So that's how it came to be.
Tell me about being Ukrainian on the island.
Ukrainian on the island, yes, there aren't many of us, but we're a fierce, proud lot, and we managed to find each other one way or another. One of my friends who lives not far from here came from Toronto, and she's also a writer, Helen Petulak. It wasn't too hard to eventually find other people, because it's been over a series of years that we've come together. But we decided to meet periodically for different events, and of course the big one was Fiat Thatcher, our Christmas Eve dinner, January 6th every year, and it started with a few of us, and then there were more that wanted to come and more, and we'd have visitors from Ukraine coming through. We'd have new immigrants, and lately we've had, in the last 10, 15 years, many Ukrainian immigrants who've joined us here. So we sometimes get to hear from them when they arrive to help them get settled in a little bit. And it just grew. It was out of control. It was very popular as people started hearing about Ukrainian food. We have somebody at the farmer's market who makes, pyrohe and holubchi, the cabbage rolls. So people here know Ukrainian food. If they didn't before, they do now.
So the culture of the island with a dash of Ukrainian heart.
Absolutely, yeah. We know it's amazing. And a lot of people who aren't Ukrainian want to be once they, tasted some of our food and seen some of our traditions. It doesn't matter where I live. My Ukrainian identity is part of who I am. So I've never lost that. And I always think of myself as that first, even before Canadian. I don't necessarily say that. I mean, if somebody's asking me my nationality, I'm Canadian. But I think culturally and in my heart, I'm Ukrainian. That's how I was raised.
It's a pleasure to have met you, and thank you for inviting us into your home.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Всього найкращого.
Дякую.
Earlier in the program, you heard the song Murka by Toronto's Lemon Bucket, with Mark Marchik singing the lead. Silent Night was performed by Muzika Zbortnyansky Chamber Choir. It's on their album Kolyada, available on Yevshan Records, Miron Maximiu conducting. Violinist Mela Tenenbaum, who was born in Ukraine and studied in Kyiv, and now lives in Brooklyn, New York, has held concerts and recorded on PEI for close to a decade. You heard Friedrich Chopin's Mazurka in A minor, Opus 67, number 4, from her album Tea Time. On a personal note, I lived in PEI for close to a decade. Larissa and I raised our 3 children there. I remember the island's red earth, long, lush autumns, quiet walks on snowy nights, snow that would bring the province to a near standstill the following day, the courtesy of neighbors, the dedication of staff at the CBC where I worked, and the stewardship of everyday islanders caring for their tiny province. In 2001, I left to work at Fanshawe College in London. This was my second trip back to Prince Edward Island.
Hi, my name is Ted Lematsky, and I'm a Ukrainian who is now living on Prince Edward Island. I grew up in North End, Winnipeg, and my young Ukrainian life was primarily centered around my family, mostly my mother's family, because they were from Manitoba. My father came as a young man to Saskatchewan and then moved to another relatives in Winnipeg.
You say he came as a young man. Did he come from what is today Ukraine?
Yes, he came from Galicia, Ukraine, in 1927, which at that time was under Polish rule.
So, big family?
Pretty big family, yeah.
What did you study, and how did you end up in the federal government?
I studied commerce at the University of Manitoba. I started out with accounting. The voice of God said to me, do you want to be doing this for the rest of your life? And I said no, closed my books, went down to the dean's office and switched to public policy, and that's how I ended up in the federal government.
So you're a civil servant, a man of the people at their service from top to bottom. Place me where you will. That's what I'm going to do. I'm at your service.
That is a very interesting take on it. You know, we sort of thought we served the politicians more than anything else. It was a good life. Edmonton, Calgary, Regina twice, Winnipeg, of course, yes, Ottawa, Fredericton, New Brunswick. No fixed address.
Let's move to the island, because that's really what we're talking about here today. Was there a point of integration, or did being married to an island girl make it all easy?
Well, I guess you could say it made it easy by the fact that right away we were immersed in my wife's family. And to put it into perspective, from the McLaughlin side, she has 56 cousins, first cousins, only 17 from the Turner side. They weren't as prolific for some reason.
So the McLaughlins and the Turners welcomed you?
Yes.
Did they all vote for the same party? Because marriage it's made tougher if one group's a liberal and the other side's a conservative.
Yes, for the most part, yes. Well, we won't say which side.
No, you wouldn't know anyway.
Except Cousin Wade is the premier.
Oh my gosh! Well, there you go. There you go. Well, did that make it easier?
Not necessarily. I tend to favor the Green Party.
More power to you, whatever you believe in. So you came here to retire.
My wife actually is still working. Her motivation, of course, was she wanted to come home. Everything came together in 2003.
You're feeling good. You're retired. You're feeling warmer because you're not in Winnipeg, and so now you're turning to your love of ancestry and the Ukrainian side. Can you open that up for us a bit?
Yes, we do keep in touch. We have a core group which started, and we've added a few people to it. Also, we've had people come from eastern Ukraine and have settled here. A couple of them have added to our core group, and we still get together for Christmas and a few other Independence Day and that kind of thing. I have a source, or I had a source, I should say, in Statistics Canada, and I called him and I said, how many Ukrainians are there on the island? And he says, okay, pure blood, he says, I think it was like 113s or something like that. And he said, mixed, these are people who are identified, self-identified. He says there's about 563. We've received calls now, like all the people in our little group have received calls through the years, and we're still receiving calls from people saying, I understand you had a Ukrainian group here. And, well, we did, and if you want to get together, let us know. We'll give you a call. And
Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Nasha Kasha comes to you from Radio Western 94.9 FM on the campus of Western University in London, Ontario, Canada. We're heard on CHMR 93.5 FM in St. John's, Newfoundland, on CKDU 88.1 FM in Halifax, on Local 107.3 FM in St. John, New Brunswick, on CJAS Radio 93.5 FM in San Augustine, Quebec, on CJLO 1690 AM in Montreal, on CFRC 101.9 FM in Kingston, on CFMU 93.3 FM in Hamilton, on CKMS 102.7 FM in Kitchener-Waterloo, on CJAM 99.1 FM in Windsor and Detroit, on CKLU 96.7 FM in Sudbury, on CILU 102.7 FM in Thunder Bay, on 101.5 UMFM in Winnipeg, on CJTR 91.3 FM in Regina, on CFMQ 98.1 FM in Hudson Bay, Saskatchewan, on CFBX 92.5 FM in Kamloops, on CJSF 90.1 FM in Vancouver, and on CHLY 101.7 FM in Nanaimo, British Columbia.
There's a number of people who have moved, Ukrainians that have moved here as a result of working in the fish plant. And you say in the fish plant, and a lot of these people are highly educated. And as a matter of fact, most of them are, but the economy in Ukraine hasn't been that good, so they've come here, and a number have settled here. Things seem to be improving slightly, at least, with the influx of people from Ukraine. So the cultural side is being kept alive.
All the best.
Okay, Dziękuję.
Nasha Kasha is also a podcast. There's an easy way to access it for free. Go to nashakasha.libsyn.com. Nasha Kasha is one word. Libsyn is spelled LIBSYN.com. nashakasha.libsyn.com. New Pathway Ukrainian News delivers news and insight every week in English and Ukrainian. Subscribe today at newpathway.ca. Partial funding for Nasha Kasha comes from the Taras Shevchenko Foundation and the Ukrainian Credit Union. I'm your reporter Stefan Andrusiak. Back in a week, God willing. До милої зустрічі. За тиждень часу, дорогі слухачі.